Where are you right now?" I sighed with relief that I finally got through to my husband on the phone, and then I raised my voice. "We're traveling in Guam with my parents." "Huh? I thought I just heard you say you're traveling in Guam right now, but perhaps I misheard." "That's why I'm telling you I brought my parents to Guam. Listen, you can hear the sound of the waves, can't you?" Indeed, if I listened closely, I could hear the sound of water. "What do you mean by that? You should have known that today was the last day you would see your mother, right?" "Your mother? She picked the worst timing. I had planned a luxurious 10-day trip to Guam for a long time. It would be a waste of the cancellation fee, so we prioritized the trip." It was at this moment that I understood from the bottom of my heart the emotion of hatred that a person can hold for the first time. "Don't be ridiculous. You and your parents are so inconsiderate." "My name is Rachel. I'm 35 years old. I'm an ordinary working housewife employed in a sales position at a major manufacturer. I joined the company immediately after graduating from university, so I've been working there for 12 years. I've come to be called a veteran, and my juniors often consult me about their work. I'm not sure if I'm giving appropriate advice to others, but being relied upon means that I'm useful, and it gives me a sense of fulfillment. Therefore, my social life is going very smoothly. I met my husband Ken during our university days, and we started dating. We got married a few years after graduating from university, and today marks our 10th wedding anniversary. Usually I work overtime, but on this day I was a little excited and went home early. Various scenes came to mind. When we first started dating, we walked side by side with slightly awkward steps. We celebrated each other's birthdays, creating many memories. At our wedding, I, the bride, cried so much that my makeup was ruined. It's hard to believe that we've been together for 10 years now. Time flies by in an instant. "I'm home." I opened the front door energetically and returned home. "Welcome back," Ken responded. My husband usually comes home late, but like me, he must have been excited and finished work on time. When I stepped into the dining kitchen, Ken had already opened a bottle of wine on the table and started drinking it with cheese that had been stored in the refrigerator as a snack. "Ken, you were early today, weren't you?" When I looked at the wine, Ken turned to me. "I came back in the morning." "Huh? In the morning? What's that? Did you take a half day off or something?" I was a little worried, wondering if he was feeling unwell. "No, that's not it." Ken looked down, seeming to have something difficult to say, but eventually he looked up. "I quit my job today." "Huh?" I thought I misheard, so I asked again. Ken repeated that he had resigned. "Wait a minute. What do you mean you resigned?" I raised my voice. "We don't have any children. It's not that we don't want them, but this is something that is bestowed upon us, and we hope to have them someday. To that end, we both work and save money. But I don't want him to easily choose the path of resignation." "What were you dissatisfied with? Work environment or the job content?" I asked Ken many questions. Ken snorted and took a sip of wine. When I listened carefully, it turned out that Ken had a fierce quarrel with his boss this morning and was told to quit the company immediately, so he did. "You shouldn't take such impulsive words seriously. You should call and apologize right now to retract your resignation." However, my words didn't reach Ken. "Rachel, I've been having trouble with my relationship with my boss for a long time. I was under a lot of stress." Ken began to lament his misfortune while tilting his glass. "Even when I achieve results, I'm not evaluated, and instead, I'm being criticized. I wonder if there's no such company." "Well, I'm in sales, so if I acquire a project, it immediately leads to evaluation." Ken is in an administrative position unlike me. He's a general affairs manager, a part of the company's back office. No matter what a general affairs manager like me does, it doesn't immediately lead to results. How much I contribute to the company's growth is evaluated over a long period. But my boss got angry because I haven't achieved short-term results. Ken said he felt extremely unreasonable because he was doing what he should have been doing, but he was still being scolded. I could have endured it once or twice, but it was every day. The stress on me was immense. It's not uncommon for relationships between superiors and subordinates to become strained. In fact, it can be said that cases where things are going well are rarer. But even so, isn't it the role of a working adult to maintain a good relationship on the surface? I tried to persuade him, but Ken wouldn't listen at all. Eventually, I gave up. Anyway, please find a new job and start working soon. I can't support the household expenses by myself. How can you say that? You're earning more than me. I was at a loss for words. That's right, my income is considerably higher than Ken's. This is because in sales, performance is directly reflected in salary. But that doesn't mean I can cover the living expenses for 2 people with my income alone. Can you give me a month? Ken proposed to me. What are you going to do after a month? It's obvious. I'm going to look for a job. Then how do you plan to spend the month until you find a job? I've suffered significant mental damage. I'll take it easy. I wasn't convinced, but I thought it was pointless to say anything, so I decided to prepare the meal, thinking he could do as he pleased. There was beef stew that had been prepared a few days ago for today's special night and some appetizers. Everything except the stew could be taken out of the refrigerator and eaten as is, so I quickly started arranging them on the dining table. Ken, who was watching me, said with a grin, Hey, Rachel, isn't it tough to balance work and housework? If you think so, why don't you help me a little? I thought, what's this all of a sudden? But when Ken spoke next, I froze. Well, it always seems tough, so I suggested to Mom and Dad that they move in with us. Huh? Did my husband just say move in? But he says suggested, so he must not have received a reply from his parents yet. No way. I'm already shocked that Ken quit his job, but if he tells me we're going to live together, I might get even more shocked and go crazy. Dad and Mom live in a detached house, but they're renting, so they pay rent every month. But it's different for us, right? What are you talking about? Of course this house is under my name, but I'm paying a mortgage instead of rent. Gradually, my movements became rough. I was scared to continue the conversation, as it seemed like things were heading towards the worst possible outcome. Yes, we have a mortgage, but what if Mom and Dad came here? If they could use the rent they were paying to help with the mortgage, don't you think it would be a significant saving? I've never thought about that. In fact, I've been thinking that I don't want to live with them ever since we got married. I don't really know what kind of people my in-laws are. I met them before getting married at the wedding and a few times when I visited their house during the holidays, so I don't really know their personalities. Rachel, if we live together, your housework burden will also decrease. Huh? My parents are diligent. They will definitely help around the house. His tone made it sound like the cohabitation was already decided, which bothered me. Oh, wait, Ken, is the cohabitation already decided? Yes, that's right. Mom and Dad agreed to move in here. I went back to my parents' house this morning and convinced them. What a mess. I stopped stirring the stew. It was being warmed over low heat, so it was safe, but if the heat had been a little stronger, it might have burned. I'm against cohabitation. I hear that conflicts between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law are common. I don't want my home to become like that. Will my housework burden really be reduced? If my housework burden is reduced as a merit of cohabitation, then that's fine. At this time, I was thinking about how to effectively utilize this merit. This cohabitation is limited to the time Ken is unemployed. I thought I could endure it for about a month. I believed that without a doubt. I'll be in your care from today, Rachel. Please take care of us. On the day of the move, my in-laws Heather and Brian arrived at our house. They both bowed to me with very polite attitudes and smiles. Could this cohabitation actually be a good thing? I've had sleepless nights ever since Ken told me about the cohabitation. Since then, I've been researching about mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships online, and I only found the worst patterns, which made me worry and lose sleep. Welcome. Thank you for having us. I bowed deeply with an awkward smile. Is that all your luggage? Both Heather and Brian were only holding small bags, but according to Ken, they will be living here for about a month. I wondered if such small luggage would be enough for their daily needs. Yes, this is it. The rest of our belongings will be delivered by truck. Huh? Truck? Before I could finish my sentence, I heard a bang from the outside, and then the intercom rang. Ken, who was standing right behind me, answered the intercom. Yes, I'll open the front door now, so please wait a moment. Then Ken whispered in my ear, Rachel, Mom and Dad's luggage has arrived. Stay back. My in-laws had already entered the house and were about to enter the living room. When Ken opened the door, several movers bowed to him. Ken, what do you mean by luggage? After the movers left, I grabbed Ken's arm and pressed him for an answer. What do you mean? It's a move, so there are appliances and other things. Wait, this cohabitation is temporary, right? It's just until you find your next job. Just a temporary cohabitation. I never said anything like that. This cohabitation will last forever. Why did you think it was temporary? Come to think of it, he's right. Ken never said it was a temporary cohabitation. I was so against cohabitation that I hoped it would be temporary, and at some point I mistook that wish for reality. But this is the worst case scenario. I felt that way even more because I had been reading only bad stories about in-laws online. Hey, Ken, can't you reconsider? We don't have enough space in this house to accept all of your parents' belongings right now. There's one room, right? Huh? The empty room we were planning to use as a kid's room. We'll carry mom and dad's belongings there and store them temporarily. After that, you can work with them to organize everything. No way. I was dejected. Weren't my in-laws supposed to be diligent people who would help me? But now they're asking me to help them unpack? That's not fair. Moreover, the cohabitation is not temporary but permanent. It was as if I had been thrust into darkness. Rachel, is the tea ready yet? Huh? Tea? I couldn't react immediately to the voice from the living room, and I just repeated Heather's words. Tea. Hurry up and serve mom and dad. Ken went outside to give instructions to the movers, and I went to the dining kitchen to make tea. Rachel, you knew we were coming, but you didn't even prepare tea? I'm sorry, Dad. I'll make it right away. The darkness was pitch black. No matter where I looked, all I saw was a space of jet black. I had no idea if there would ever be a day when light would shine into this world of darkness. After serving tea to my in-laws, I was busy preparing a meal. It was 10:30 a.m. My in-laws are strict about time, and they said they wanted to start eating the pizza at exactly noon. Exactly at noon? We're in the middle of moving, so is it okay if we're a little late? As a daughter-in-law, are you saying you can't serve pizza to your parents-in-law? I explained that I didn't have any ingredients, and because the luggage was still being moved in, I couldn't go out to the supermarket. But Heather wouldn't accept it. I had no choice but to go to the front door to get my shoes, exit through the back door, and run to the supermarket. Why do I have to go through this right after moving? It's a precious Sunday, and my holiday is ruined. That night, I called my mother at my parents' house. Well, are you okay living with your husband's parents? I could almost see my mother's worried face. I'm fine. I just wanted to let you know, so there's nothing to worry about. My mother's illness has worsened, and she is currently receiving home treatment. I couldn't tell her that I was full of anxiety, so I pretended to be cheerful. That's good to hear. Hey, Rachel. Yes, what is it? No matter what happens, don't say anything unnecessary. A bride should just be quiet and respect her parents-in-law. That's all you need to do. It might be tough sometimes, so rely on me when that happens. Actually, my mother used to live with her mother-in-law, my father's mother. Back then, my mother always had a somewhat gloomy expression. Even though I was right in front of her, it was as if she didn't even notice me. The reason I can't accept living with Ken's parents is because I know my mother, who had to serve her in-laws. Ever since my in-laws moved in, I've been busy organizing the luggage that was carried into the kids' room. They could have done it themselves during the day, but they wait for me to come home from work, and we start after dinner and bath time. Hey Ken, you said housework burden would decrease if we lived together, right? Yeah, I said that. In fact, Mom's been doing a great job. She makes lunch for me and Dad since you're not here during the weekdays. She should be doing that much. If anything, I wish she would prepare dinner too. I've been sleep deprived lately. I'm forced to help them organize until late at night, and they're both so meticulous. I felt like asking, where's the meticulousness in that? Ken proudly puffed out his chest in response to my question. See, Mom makes lunch and Dad goes shopping for groceries when we're out. How is that meticulous? My mother is a housewife, so she should be able to do that much. My father retired a while ago and is now enjoying a leisurely life in his retirement. I don't think he should be called meticulous just for going out to buy groceries. So what have you been doing all day? When I turned the question to my husband, he looked visibly flustered. Well, that's, job hunting. I registered with a job agency and been introduced to some positions. I'm doing various things to find my next job. According to Ken, he sometimes has online interviews at home. He says that the job hunting process has changed significantly due to the recent pandemic. So how many companies have you applied to? Ken didn't answer that question and remained silent. Ken, what's wrong? You don't trust me, do you? Huh? You're not sure how I spend my days, aren't you? I do have those feelings, but I don't want to put them into words and corner him. A lot has happened, and the situation has changed, you know? You're pretty calm. Aren't you afraid of me earning more than you? It's generally understood that changing jobs means an increase in income compared to the previous job, and I hear that Ken is aiming for that too. It's a good thing, and I'm praying that he can achieve it. I believe you'll find a job that meets your expectations. Oh, thank you. After this, Ken stopped talking about his job hunting activities in front of me. Instead, he completely ignored me and started showing an attitude of relying heavily on his parents. I knew that Ken was somewhat of a mama's boy and a papa's boy, but when I came home, he wouldn't say welcome back and seemed engrossed in conversations with his parents, which made me feel a deep sense of exclusion. From then on, the demands from my in-laws and Ken towards me escalated. Rachel, I asked you to have dinner ready by 7 p.m., right? What time do you think it is now? It's 7:30. When I came home from work, Heather was standing in the entrance with a stern look. Heather, my company's closing time is 6 p.m. I shop on my way back from there, and I'm rushing, even with that. Your effort as a bride is lacking. Why do you try to cook after you get home? Heather's scolding continued. There's nothing stocked in the refrigerator. We can't eat anything even if we wanted to. Stocked? I was dejected. I had been doing things as if Ken and I were still living alone, so it's true that I hadn't been considerate enough of the family waiting for me at home. I'm already 66 years old, and it's tough for me to make lunch for my son and husband. I'm sorry. No matter what happens, don't say anything unnecessary. A bride should just be quiet and respect her parents-in-law. That's all you need to do. My mother's words over the phone were deeply ingrained in me. I have a lot of excuses and complaints, but I decided to remain silent. I didn't want to waste my beloved mother's words. From now on, prepare everything before you go to work. Everything? Yes. Prepare lunch and dinner, and leave them ready to eat before you go to work. That way, we can eat on time even without you. In that case, the cleanup, it's obvious that you'll do it. Don't involve us in housework. In other words, I have to wake up early in the morning, prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then battle with a mountain of dishes when I get home. What do you mean my housework burden will decrease? I thought to myself, and I really wanted Ken to explain in detail where these people were meticulous. Hey, the entrance is cold. Hurry up and come into the living room. While Heather and I were talking at the entrance, Ken, who was in the living room, poked his head out and called to Heather from behind. Oh, I'm coming now. Ken, make sure Rachel does what I said from tomorrow. Yes. I couldn't help but wonder, what is my purpose in life? This is like being treated as a money-making housekeeper, so they're satisfied as long as they can have a meal together without me. I'm a stranger originally, but since I'm Ken's wife, I should be family with his parents too. But right now, we haven't built a family relationship. There's only a master-servant relationship where I'm told to work like a maid. Heather, what is family? I don't understand anymore. Left alone after Heather left, I cried, tears streaming down my face. From then on, I started waking up at 5 a.m. to prepare meals for the family before leaving for work. And I spent my days working overtime. I knew that only a pile of dishes awaited me at home, so I started volunteering for overtime, which I used to avoid for the sake of my family. Sorry, can you give me some advice? A young female employee in her 20s came to me for advice as usual. She's worried because she's not reaching her sales target for this month and doesn't know what to do. Sure, let's hear it. Feel free to tell me what you're thinking. When I encouraged her, the female employee started talking little by little. At first, she spoke with a heavy tone, but as time passed, she gradually returned to her usual self. Ah, this is nice. I wish I could have conversations like this at home too. If they saw me more as a family member, maybe I could overcome my awkwardness towards my in-laws. I want to talk more with Ken, who seems to be avoiding me for some reason. If I could just let out a fraction of the myriad of emotions swirling within me, I might feel a little better, I thought. After listening to her and giving my advice, the female employee said, "Thank you very much," with a big smile and went home. Well, I should get going too. I put my belongings on my desk, into my bag, and was about to leave when I noticed a call on my smartphone. Wondering who it was from, I checked the call history and saw that it was from Dad. I had a bad feeling about this and hurriedly tapped on my dad's number and put the phone to my ear. "Oh, Dad, it's Rachel. I just got a call from you. Did something happen?" "Rachel, your mom, a few hours ago." My vision went dark again. I knew that my mom had an illness and was currently receiving treatment at home. I knew that she was desperately trying to live, not knowing when her illness would worsen. But I didn't want to understand that she was no longer in this world. Wiping away the overflowing tears with the back of my hand, I called Ken's smartphone. "Hello, what's up?" Ken answered the phone immediately, but the TV was so loud that it was difficult to hear only his voice. "Sorry, it's hard to hear you. Can you step out of the living room?" "Okay, just wait a minute." He said that, and I could tell he had stepped out of the living room into the hallway as the noise completely disappeared. I just got a call from my dad." I told Ken about my mom, and at that moment, tears started overflowing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry, but I can't stop the tears." "I understand. Don't be too down." "Okay, I'll contact you again. I'm going back to my parents' house today." It might be inconsiderate at a time like this, but I was relieved to be able to go back to my parents' house. I was worried about who would clean up the dishes, but I figured someone would eventually do it. An hour later, I was back at my parents' house. What awaited me was my mother, who had fallen silent. I was overcome with sadness. "Dad, can I stay here for a while? I want to be with Mom." My father seemed hesitant. "What about your other house? I heard from your mom that you started living with your in-laws." "That's fine. I let Ken know, so it's probably okay even if I'm not there." Although I said that, I realized that the exclusive housekeeper of that house was now here. I wondered if they would be able to eat all 3 meals properly. I had stocked up on groceries, but they would probably run out in about 2 days. I couldn't imagine Heather cooking without complaining, but I was also filled with sadness from losing my mother. I didn't have the capacity to listen to Heather's unreasonable remarks. In short, I didn't want to go back. But if I told my father this, he would surely worry and be heartbroken. He seems to be more shocked than I am about my mother's passing, so I can't let him hear this. I have to stay strong here. "Dad, I'm doing my best. I'm listening to everything they say without talking back." I wondered if those words had become my mother's last words. I muttered that while stroking my mother's cold cheek. While I was spending quiet time with my mother, my father was moving briskly. He was probably trying to keep himself busy, or else the sadness would crush his heart. He took the initiative to handle everything, including the funeral arrangements. I couldn't leave my mother alone, so I stayed by her side the whole time. I had completely forgotten about food and sleep, and I was shocked to notice how gaunt my cheeks had become from crying. "You look exhausted. Why don't you get some sleep?" My father spoke to me when he had a free moment. "No, I'm fine now. Let me stay by Mom's side. At least let me be with her until the day she returns to the earth." When I asked, my father didn't say anything further and walked back to the busy area. Then came the day of my mother's farewell. "Rachel, have you been in touch with Ken?" "No, I haven't. Even when I get through, it immediately goes to voicemail. I wonder if he had an accident or something." The ceremony was proceeding, but neither Ken nor my in-laws were present. I had informed them about today, so I wondered what was going on. An unidentifiable anxiety welled up inside me, and I unconsciously furrowed my tear-stained face. Just then, I finally received a call from Ken. "Ken, where are you right now?" I was relieved that the call finally went through, and I raised my voice. "We're traveling in Guam with my parents. You can have the ceremony by yourself." "Huh? I thought I heard you say you were traveling in Guam. But did I mishear?" "I told you, I brought my parents to Guam. Listen, you can hear the sound of the waves, can't you?" Indeed, when I listened closely, I could hear the sound of the waves. "What do you mean? You knew today was the last day with my mom, right?" "Your mom had the worst timing. I had planned this luxurious trip to Guam a long time ago. It would have been a waste to cancel, so we prioritized the trip." It was then that I truly understood, from the bottom of my heart, the emotion of hatred that humans can possess. And at the same time, I painfully understood the meaning of the word rage. "Don't be ridiculous. You and your parents are so inconsiderate." Perhaps startled by my rage, my father quickly approached me. "I told you the timing." My father snatched my phone away from me. "Hello, Ken. Is it true that you're currently overseas?" "Oh, it's been a while." "Yes, it's true. I'm sorry we couldn't go." "I don't need your insincere apologies. By the way, when are you returning?" "According to Ken, they arrived in Guam yesterday and will return 9 days later." "I see. I'm sorry to have disturbed your fun. Goodbye." My father calmly hung up the phone and returned it to me. "Rachel, I have something to discuss with you. Can you spare some time after today's event is over?" I returned to where I was. As I gazed at my father's back, I felt a growing hatred and resentment towards my husband and in-laws. And at the same time, I wondered what my father wanted to discuss. After the farewell ceremony for my mother, my father called me to the living room. We sat facing each other on the sofa, still in our mourning clothes. Let me get straight to the point. Rachel, do you still have feelings for Ken? Do you still love him? Yes, that's what I mean. When asked directly, I wasn't sure anymore. I had felt clear malice towards him until just a moment ago, but when faced with the prospect of voicing these feelings to someone else, I hesitated, wondering if it was okay to let someone other than myself hear these thoughts. I don't know. I was angry that he's in Guam, and I'm always being pushed around by my mother-in-law. I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't say anything until now, even when I wanted to complain, but I've reached my limit. I was appalled at myself, realizing that I was saying things in a jumbled manner. However, my father must have sensed that my patience had reached its limit as he suddenly brought up the word divorce. Your feelings are something only you can understand, Rachel. If you say you've reached your limit in such an extreme situation, then it's not a wrong statement. It's okay to find relief. When he said that, fresh tears welled up unexpectedly. I wanted someone to save me. I wanted someone to reach out to me in this environment where I was forced to do thankless labor. Dad, I want a divorce. I want to live in this house and start my life over again. You can start your life over as many times as you want. If that's what you wish, I'll help you. 9 days later, I brought all my personal belongings from my former home and was awakened by the incessant ringing of the intercom at my parents' house and the pounding on the front door. Who is it? My father also woke up due to the noise and came down from his bedroom on the second floor. Rachel, it's me, Ken. Open the door. I realized that today was the day Ken and his parents were returning. My mind was still groggy from sleep, and I hadn't been able to think about my husband's return date because I had been so busy these past few days. I put on my sandals at the entrance, unlocked the door, and opened it. Ken and his parents stood there with large suitcases beside them, glaring at me with anger in their eyes. The key to the front door doesn't work. What's going on? My father stepped in between Ken, who looked like he was about to lunge at me, and me. I had the locks changed at Rachel's house. That house belongs to my daughter. It's her right to change the locks. Oh, don't be ridiculous. That's my house too. Changing the locks while we were away is like telling us not to come in. That's right, Ken. You have a good sense. I don't want you or your parents to enter Rachel's house. Ken was taken aback by my father's strong words. I had my own thoughts, but I decided to remain silent and let my father handle the situation. Wait a minute. Our previous house was also completely empty. What happened to it? Heather pressed my father with a similar expression to Ken's. They really are mother and son. That land was originally my property. They ignored my repeated requests for rent payment and were in arrears. I had a lawyer send them several content-certified mails. Content-certified mail? I've never seen anything like that. That's because you moved into Rachel's house without returning to that one. Therefore, the lease agreement is now void. I had the house demolished, cleared the land, and put it up for sale. I had no idea that my in-laws' previous house was on land owned by my father. And Ken, I want you to divorce Rachel. What? Why are we talking about divorce? Is it because you're so upset that we went to Guam? Yes, I'm upset about that. It's also unforgivable that you hurt Rachel more than necessary. And another fact that I had no idea about came out of my father's mouth. Ken, when you quit your job, I gave you $5,000 as living expenses, didn't I? I said you could pay me back when you got a promotion. But if you're divorcing Rachel, that's a different story. I want you to pay back those $5,000 plus the $6,000 per month I've been giving you for the past 3 months. Right now. Dad, what are you talking about? How can an unemployed person like me pay such a large sum of money? Then start job hunting right now and get a job. Make sure to pay $1,000 every month. That's outrageous. It's unfair to take advantage of my weakness. Then, my father started talking. What did you think Rachel was to you? From what I hear, you treated her like less than a housekeeper. I can't trust my daughter to a man like that. Sign the divorce papers right now. If you don't agree to a divorce here, we'll have to fight it out in court. My father told him. Wait a minute, Dad. Rachel, do you really want to divorce me? We've been together since our university days, haven't we? I thought, so what? It's true that, as Ken said, we have been together since our university days and were so close that others envied us. But once we got married, this is what happened. Ken, I can't be with you anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of you and your parents. Please reconsider, Rachel. Unbelievably, Ken got down on his knees, right there, and looked up at me with teary eyes. Please, Rachel, you're the only one for me. Don't be ridiculous. You don't love me, you just love my wallet. When I said what I had been thinking so bluntly, Ken froze for a moment. I was disappointed in my heart, realizing that I was nothing but a gold mine to him. When we bought the house and took out a loan, Ken found out how much I was earning. Knowing that my earnings were higher than his, we decided to buy the house under my name. We used my father's name as a guarantor. I think he started relying solely on my money around that time. I can't remember for sure, but whenever we went out to eat or went shopping, I was always the one to pay, and he never spent a single penny of his own money. While this was happening, it started to rain. Fine raindrops began to fall from the overcast sky, gradually wetting the ground. Ken, I can't be with you anymore. If you don't agree to a divorce here and now, I'll take legal action. I took out the completed divorce papers and held them out in front of Ken. I had prepared several copies in case they got torn, but I hoped to end it with just this one. Ken, with trembling hands, unfolded the divorce papers, saw my name written on them, and looked up at the sky as if to receive the rain on his face. Is this the end? With you, with the luxurious life, with the fun times with Mom and Dad? Not entirely. From now on, you'll be paying me alimony. Huh? Why should I be the one paying alimony? It should be the other way around. You changed the locks without permission, turned Mom and Dad's house into an empty lot, and did whatever you wanted. That's enough, Ken. Changing the locks and selling the land are not illegal. If you still refuse to pay alimony, we'll bring in a lawyer. However, if you lose, you'll have to bear the lawyer's fees, so keep that in mind. Hearing my father's words, Ken clutched the divorce papers and sank to the ground. He must have realized that there was no escape and no chance to get back together with me. Rachel, I didn't think you were such a petty woman to make such a big deal out of not attending your mother's funeral. I can't understand your thinking. Choosing a trip to Guam over my precious mother. I thought we were family, but I guess I was wrong. We were never family. I was just your housekeeper. Anyway, all future communication will be through a lawyer. You can wait somewhere. With that, I pushed Ken and his parents out of the entrance and closed and locked the door. Dad, did I do okay? I felt a little sorry for Ken, but did I play the bad guy well? Yes, you did very well, Rachel. Let's go to the lawyer's office tomorrow. Later, Ken and his parents also hired a lawyer and claimed that there was no reason to pay me alimony. Of course, they also claimed that changing the locks and selling the land were illegal, but things didn't go as they had hoped. The forced cohabitation and the unfair treatment of me as a housekeeper were deemed inexcusable. Ken's secret diary was the deciding factor in this. The diary contained entries like tricked Rachel into cohabitation, and Rachel just needs to make food and bring home money. At the time, I didn't dislike Ken that much, so I couldn't hide my sadness, realizing that he thought of me that way. As for the debt to my father that I first heard about when Ken and his parents came to my parents' house, they were ordered to repay it along with the alimony. Where am I? An unemployed person, supposed to get that kind of money. I wanted to tell him that if he had time to be angry, he should go out and earn some money. After several divorce mediations, we were finally able to get a divorce. It took about half a year from the first day of the divorce mediation, which I felt was quite a long time. And today my father and I came to visit my mother's grave. It pains me to give my mother such sad news, but I have to tell her, or I'll regret it. Mom, I got divorced from Ken. I wonder if it was because of the cohabitation. I started to see things I couldn't keep up with, and that's what Dad and I decided. My father listened intently to my faint, monologue-like voice from behind and gently stroked my trembling back. But I've moved on now. I have my dad. We decided to live together, supporting each other. The warmth of the hand stroking my back was comforting. It was as if he was silently telling me that I'm not alone. You did well, Rachel. As I was basking in my father's warmth, I felt as if I heard my mother's voice from the heavens. Thus, I changed my surname and started to focus on my work even more than before. You've been on fire lately, haven't you? A young female employee who always relies on me pointed at the sales performance bar graph on the wall. And rightly so. My sales performance for this month has already exceeded the norm, and the bar graph is stretching from the wall to the ceiling. I wonder if it's because the environment changed after the divorce. I feel like I'm in a good place, even to myself. Isn't it normal to feel down after a divorce? That's what young people think. At my age, there are many things that can't be explained by logic, and you can't reconcile your own feelings. I don't really get it, but in your case, the divorce was a boost, right? A female employee said that casually and then changed the subject. By the way, I think your ex-husband is working at a construction site. Huh? Is that so? During my marriage, I always had Ken's photo on my desk, and she has seen it many times. So it's not surprising that she recognized Ken. Yes, I'm sure. It must be tough for him, right? Paying alimony and the loan for the house. The mortgage is still being paid from my monthly salary. My father and I haven't discussed what to do with the house yet. Also, many of the belongings of my former husband and in-laws are still left in that house. I have to go back to that house next week and arrange to send those belongings to their new place. As I finished my conversation with a female employee and walked along the road, I saw a familiar face in my line of sight. It was Ken. Just as the employee had said, Ken was working at a construction site carrying equipment and engaging in manual labor. He was wearing a helmet, so it was hard to see his face, but there's no way I would mistake the man I had been with for over 10 years. Have you finally decided to stand on your own 2 feet? I thought. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing such hard labor. I was tempted to call out to him, but I thought it would be pointless to greet him now, so I silently walked away. Later, I heard from the grapevine that my former in-laws had also started working. Huh? Dad and Mom are working? Isn't that some kind of mistake? During dinner, I almost dropped my fork in surprise when I heard the rumor my father had brought home. They both started working for the same company. I heard it's some kind of cleaning job. Cleaning job? Those two who were the epitome of pride? I can't believe it. But if they're each working to protect their own lives, then that's something to be happy about. Also, Rachel, about your house. Have you thought about renting it out? Oh, that's an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Once the issue with their belongings is settled, I'll go to a real estate agency. I don't know if I'll ever find someone I like in the future, but for now, I'll live with my father in this house, focus on my work, and keep moving forward.